Do you feel good? Do you feel healthy? Do you feel resilient? Do you feel like you can show up the way you want to in your life? If the answer is I could have more, then that's the truth.
The vibe that comes from you is so pure and angelic. I really feel like whatever you're doing is coming from the heart and from pure source. It's really beautiful to see.
You can link pretty much any aspect of illness to the gut microbiome. They start to take over our immune system, give us brain fog, give us acne, give us eczema, autoimmune conditions. And when you clean them out, then that immune system can be healthy again.
Connecting to your essence is about losing control and trusting the divine to guide us that no matter what happened, we're going to be okay. There is always good and bad, black and white. Where do we choose to live in this matrix? Hi, and welcome to Orion's World. This is your host, Orion, and today I have with me Dr. Jen Mann. She's a licensed naturopathic doctor and founder of Nova Wellness, an integrative practice in the Bay Area. She specializes in autoimmune, digestive, thyroid, and hormonal issues, blending conventional and functional medicine with a holistic approach that restores gut hormone balance and empowers clients to heal through rhythm, purpose, pleasure, and deep nourishment. Today we talked about healing autoimmune diseases, stress reduction, and connecting to your gut. And now, without further ado, on to the show. Hi, Jen, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Orion.
Before we begin, maybe you can share with me one beautiful memory from your childhood.
Oh, it's a great question. Well, I grew up, my parents are both in the priesthood of the church I grew up in. And I remember growing up and having this day where everyone gathered in the church to pray for this person that was sick. And I remember the energy that came in the room that day. And I loved it when people would call on spirit and bring in spirit to whatever we were working on. And that's one of my favorite feelings of being a kid was when they would call on spirit and bring spirit in the room.
Oh, were you able to see things, or was it just a sensation?
It was really a sensation. Like, I'm not a religious person. I never really felt religious as a kid. But this feeling of spirit, and when spirit would come in, whether it was when we were singing or gathering or praying for someone, I couldn't really see it, but I could feel that feeling so much, and I loved it.
So you think that started your journey of becoming a doctor of helping people?
Yeah, I think with being a naturopathic doctor, there's this belief in what's called the vis. There's this idea that the body has a capacity to heal itself, and all we're doing is working with that capacity and helping it to flow. And to me, that's very similar to spirit. My parents were also, like, my dad's a physicist and my mom's a mathematician. So I had this like science background and this exposure to spirit. And I think naturopathic medicine to me, it pulls both of those together.
Mm. So how do you combine science and the spirit, like natural way of healing and all that?
I think of science as like a tool. It's a way that we get information. It's a way that we can connect into understanding our body better. It's a way, there's so much information we've gathered through science. And so that's like a tool we're using to harness this spirit, to harness this energy, to help it flow, to help it express. And so them in combination can be really, really powerful.
Mm. What do you think is the biggest misconception that people have around functional medicine?
I think one of my favorite ones is that it has to be strict, restrictive, hard, difficult, limiting. I think that's kind of a lot of ideas of what health has become these days, this idea that you have to limit or restrict to feel healthy. And that's one that it's not good for the body, for desire, for aliveness to feel really restricted. So how can we bring our health and bring our aliveness and that freedom and that flow and make that possible?
How do we do that?
That's a much more interesting process. I encourage my clients to bring an attitude of curiosity, that you get to be in this amazing form, this beautiful organic body that's fleshy and does all these things, and to bring an idea of curiosity to it and fun to it, and um, looking inside and playing with it versus limiting it and telling it what to do every moment of the day and what it can eat and what it can't eat. It's a very different place to come from.
What do you think, like all those years that you've been doing what you're doing, what do you think became your, or you discovered is your biggest talent and expertise?
Hmm. As a clinician, the gift of sitting with someone and hearing them deeply is the biggest gift that I've honed in on. And every time I do that, all day long, every day that I get to do that and deeply listen and listen to what's really at the edge for that person, what's really alive for that person, what's really growing, what's transforming. Ultimately, that to me, that's the biggest gift of what I get to do. And then how do you work with someone in that space? What arises in that space? What wants to grow out of that space? And I don't know, that's a skill you can only get with sitting with people a lot of hours, and gets honed in through a lot of practice.
Yeah, you can't teach it, you can't learn it. You just have to just be with the people. And in the when I say expertise, I mean chronic illnesses, and like what do people come um, to you for, and do they come to you after they've been to a regular doctor where you can't, like nothing helps, and then they come to you? How does it work?
Yeah, so in terms of physical conditions, I work with the most are chronic fatigue, digestive disorders, thyroid conditions, autoimmune conditions. And these are typically things people have been just dealing with for a long time. Most people we see have been to multiple doctors, at least their primary care doctor, and they feel dismissed, they feel frustrated. And these days we have access to so much information. So people have done research on their own, now ChatGPT or Google or, blogs or podcasts like yours, and they're trying to implement. I work with a lot of people that are, very smart, very capable people that are used to being able to figure things out. And so between getting frustrated with going to conventional medicine, not getting answers there, trying some things on their own and not getting answers there, typically people are looking for a guide or someone that can give them more support and figure out what's going on and how to work their way through it.
Hmm. And what's the difference? I mean, beyond the listening, what's the difference in protocol working with somebody like you, and working with a regular doctor?
Hmm. Well, in conventional medicine, that system is set up to look at what insurance covers. And so insurance covers certain labs, certain imaging. And if you fall within a certain threshold of illness, cancer, major illnesses, very obvious things on your labs, then those are going to pop up and offer you a medication or some sort of therapy for them. And so the difference is, and what we're able to do is really look at, where is your body out of balance? Where is it really not showing up the way you want it to? What's more nuanced that's off? It doesn't have to reach the level of obvious illness for you to not feel good. So that's more the level of nuance, the more the level of detail that we're able to go into, not just from labs, but like what you're experiencing in your body, your history, all these pieces, we're able to put together and sort through over time and really understand what your body's saying, what it needs, what it wants.
Can you give me an example of a specific nuance that, for example, a allopathic doctor will never find because they are limited with their whatever they can do with insurances?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of gut issues. In conventional medicine, pretty much all they're going to do for that is a colonoscopy or an endoscopy. They're going to send a scope down and look at the intestines. If they don't find any masses or major inflammation, they're going to call it like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, which the name is what it is. Like people already know that going in, their bowels are irritated. So that's obvious, right? And so what we're able to do is specialty testing that looks at the gut microbiome. For example, the function of the gut. Are you producing digestive enzymes? Do you have any overgrowth in the microbiome? Do you have lack of growth in the microbiome? And get to that more nuance. In conventional medicine, they don't have any testing for that. They don't even consider that in like what's going on as a major issue for most people.
Yeah. And do you feel like most people have problems with their microbiome?
I would say it's pretty much universal.
Yeah. So what can any of us do to protect our microbiome, to protect our gut health?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the most powerful systems in the body. You can link pretty much any aspect of illness to the gut microbiome. So it's a huge one to be looking at, taking care of. It's one that's built up. If you look at how babies grow their microbiome, right? It's the flora when you come out of your mother, either from their skin or vaginal flora. It's the breast milk, and then it's the food that you're eating. So we want to keep doing that throughout our lives, like really grow our microbiome with good flora, like probiotics, good healthy food. You want to avoid the things that really bring down the microbiome. So, antibiotics, pharmaceuticals, processed foods, stress. So, it's really how I think about it. It's more like a garden that you want to be nourishing, and you want to get the weeds out once in a while too. That's why it's good to work with someone. We've always done that as humans. We collect things in our gut. We collect little microbes, and we need to clean them out once in a while too. So to work with someone that can look at your microbiome once in a while and help you keep it really balanced is helpful.
How do we clean it?
Yeah, so that's where, like, when I got sick, that's how I got into this work too, was really, yeah, when I went to the Amazon when I was in college, I did a study abroad program there. And like many people, we love traveling the world and doing all these different things. And I went to the Amazon and did a ecology program there and lived in the Amazon and got exposed to all these bugs and water that my body was not used to being exposed to at all. And then I got very sick, and then my health really deteriorated from there. So, um, you know, there's herbs and things that we've always been connected to because humans, just like all animals, we pick up these microbes. They love living in other beings. um, there are herbs, there are foods, there are all different pharmaceuticals that can help clean out these microbes that get in there. And it can be life changing because when they're overgrown, they start to take over our immune system, give us brain fog, give us acne, give us eczema, autoimmune conditions. And when you clean them out, then that immune system can be healthy again. The gut lining can heal up again. We can absorb our nutrients. So using food, herbs, pharmaceuticals, whatever it takes to really clean that out.
Hmm. What was your process of healing back then when you got really sick?
I was someone who had to really go through all of it. I had to go through a lot of discovery as to what was deeply going on. That was huge for me to know, like, okay, I had stuff growing in my gut that shouldn't have been there. I had parasites. I had something called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I had an autoimmune thyroid condition. I had endometriosis. So for me, there was a huge discovery process of like, what's actually going on in my body that's making me feel so terrible. And then it was like this whole piece of how do you heal these otherwise untreatable conditions in conventional medicine? How do you actually heal them? And so for me, it was a process of all of it. It was looking at the food I was eating, my nutrients, my gut health, hormone health. It was also looking at my emotional health and those patterns, my spiritual health. I mean, I had to really look at all the layers to go through and reverse these types of conditions.
Yeah. I I was just listening to Dr. Dispenza on my way to I took my son somewhere and I was listening to it and he's really into the mind body connection and of course in his retreats people get spontaneously healed. They like it's crazy, blind people can see, people walk out of wheelchairs and all those things. How do you combine, like, what do you think about this? And do you combine, I'm sure you do, this type of aspect of the spiritual in your work?
Yeah, I love his work too. I do his meditations a lot. And I'm going to one of his retreats in October. So,
Oh
yeah,
my goodness, you're
very
so
excited.
lucky. You know, we were supposed to go to Marco Island, and it was during COVID, and then our babysitter had COVID, and we couldn't go. It was terrible. Well, I guess meant to be, but like we got the in-laws to come down to Florida and help us, but we had to cancel everything last minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, when the time is right. Well, if we come in October, we can hang out.
Yeah, October. Wow.
Yeah, so what I love about his work and what I hold for healing, like, is that everyone has that potential to heal, that our body wants to be healthy. And I agree with him in terms of illness exists in certain states of being, and illness doesn't exist in other states of being. So, how do we find the place where our body is healed? Some of that might be through physical means of changing our diet or taking supplements or things like that. Some of that's working like and getting rid of old thought patterns and systems that don't serve us anymore. And a lot of people, these things become very entangled. So maybe if you have, you're not holding boundary. Let's keep a more simple one. Like, you're not holding boundaries with work, right? That's a emotional pattern. You're overgiving. And then that's going into your sleep. So you're not sleeping as much because you're overworking. And, we can give you sleep meds, we can give you a sleep routine. But if you're not dealing with the pattern of overgiving or not holding your boundaries, and that pattern can be deeper, like it can be, I'm not holding boundaries with this illness. I'm not holding the boundary in my gut. So I'm getting leaky gut. I'm not holding boundaries with my immune system. So I have autoimmune disease. This theme of boundaries is leaking into everything. Then that's going to be your state. And it's going to show up physically. It's going to show up mentally, emotionally in your relationships. It's going to show up spiritually. Maybe you're not holding your essence enough in your body. So the more you can work these themes throughout your life, the more you can break out of them into something different. And when you're at that different frequency, when you're at that different state of being, that pattern of illness is much less likely to exist.
Hmm. What if, for example, my life in the last year, I think I had more stress than many, many years altogether. It was, I mean, we moved and I had a sick relative and we experienced the war with Iran and like, had like having our building shaking and like crazy stuff that like normal people don't experience. But we chose to come here. I'm glad we did. And I'm like, in the midst of all this, in the midst of chaos, in the midst of having, fear for your life, literally. How do you keep yourself at the eye of the storm? How do you reduce stress? Because, I'm a coach, I'm a hypnotherapist. I studied with a lot of people. I interviewed, 450 people already, and they're all brilliant. And I did a lot of work. And still, when things like this happen, it's very hard to regulate the nervous system, especially because as an empath, I feel my environment, I feel my family, I just feel the frequency of and the density. And here in Israel, it's way more dense and way more intense. Um, so, what would you recommend to either do, supplement, focus on to regulate the nervous system?
Mm. Well, I mean, thank you for sharing that. And you're talking about some of the most difficult situations in the human condition that you're up against, war, life threatening situations, things with family. And so,
Yeah, and also the perceived the like what I see around the world with anti-Semitism, which was like I'm like, whoa, like this is crazy. Um, So it's a lot. It's it's there is climate change and everything else. I also think that as an Israeli, I have this extra layer of stress. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, one, acknowledging the level of stress that you're experiencing. I think that's just being with what is. And sometimes the human condition is really difficult. So anytime we can bring compassion to a situation, um, I've had to do that a lot at a much lesser level, not dealing with war and the things you're talking about. But, my own healing journey, when things felt so difficult, it's like this acknowledging this is difficult, is huge, just that step. And then, for me too, in a lot of these situations, I work with so many people who are sensitive and empaths. And luckily, there's a lot of us big hearted, feeling, sensitive people on this planet right now. We need all of us in these times. And how do we be with ourselves? And how do we keep these boundaries? And how do we maintain our own light in these situations is a growing um, habit and practice. For me, I have a practice every day. I'm very empathic too. I remember going to a doctor when I was first dealing with all these things, and she's like, Jen, you take everything into your body. And I had all this stuff growing in me. I had the endometriosis, I had the SIBO, I had, all this autoimmune, this like a lot of confusion of like, what's mine, what's not mine. And it was a big part of my healing was claiming what's me and my essence and getting the stuff that's not me out and getting the right relationship with it.
And what a daily practice of just that can look like, where like I want to separate myself from the collective, from the environment, from news, from the outside noises into like my own bubble of light and peace and happiness and joy.
So every morning when I wake up, I start this way and I feel what I call my essence and I call it in. So I'll close my eyes, I'll focus on my essence, I'll say my name to myself, and I'll focus on that vibration I feel when I say my name. And then I ground into the ground and I clear anything that's not mine. So I will for me, I'm very visual and I'll see what's not mine. I'll see kind of black spots or things, and I'll take a little vacuum cleaner and I will clean it up and I will feel my bubble around me and I'll make that space pristine for me. That's my area I get to live in. I get to shine my essence in and I get to clear out everything that's not mine in it and keep that space beautiful. This is a practice I do many, many times a day. Yeah, it's not just, I mean, I set up my morning like that, but a lot of times I'll just sit there and I'll call in my essence, clear out my space after every client.
Yeah, because you like people come to you in the worst conditions where they're like desperate and angry and frustrated and sick and sad. And you seem to be very empathic. In if you sit and listen to your patients like no other doctor and you're really receiving them, you probably also like open your field to them and the fields are merging and then you need to do something to disconnect with that energy that is not yours because as the doctor you're not able to help anyone if you're just kind of going down with their sadness, not good for anybody. So that's amazing practice.
I was doing it all wrong when I started practicing. I was taking it all in. I was kind of digesting it through my body. I was, yes, it's not good. So I've learned, it's like I hold my energy. I meet them where they're at. I can't do it for my clients. They have to do it for themselves. They get to do it for themselves. And with all the things going on in the world, there's so much going on. We get to choose how we want to interface with that, how we want to help, but we have to hold our own energy or else we're going to get sick and we won't be able to help other people either. So it's a really tough, there's a lot going on in the world right now.
Yeah, that's why I told you this morning I went with my girlfriends to the beach at 5 a.m. And I was so surprised to see that there are we're like, oh, we're gonna go to the beach. It's gonna be so quiet. Nobody's gonna be there. And then I was a huge group of runners and a family that came really early, and but it was really nice. We found a more quiet space, and we were with the waves. And I kind of like spontaneously just took them. I did kind of a guided meditation for everyone while we were inside the ocean, and I love working with the subconscious mind. So they had this tape. They put tape on the water. Like there's like columns and tape where the lifeguard is not there saying, the water is rough, please don't go in. So I was like, okay, we are gonna go in a little bit, but not a lot. But wait, I want to do something with you. And then I took them on a guided meditation where that tape was representing every obstacle, everything that seems stuck and unachievable. And I guided them and I said, okay, the moment we're gonna go through that tape, you're gonna release all those obstacles. It's represent all of those obstacles, and you're just gonna keep your eyes closed. And then when you open, you're gonna look into the horizon and the endlessness, knowing that this is who you are, ever expanding, endless possibilities, invisible. I don't know what I said there, but it was so great to just be connected to nature and not see buildings, not see anything, just the horizon, just nature. And also imagining like the waves are taking anything that doesn't serve us and releasing and cleansing. It was just really magical. So things like that are really helpful. Um, and I'm doing them. Yet, if there is a siren, for example, my conscious mind is I'm good, everything's under control, this is what we're gonna do. But then I feel like my heart is racing really, really, really fast. And I've noticed it a few times. So how do you get coherent between the brain and the heart in this type of situation where it's almost like a Pavlovian reaction for for stress and anxiety? Just hearing this and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing that. And what a beautiful practice to do in the ocean and remember who you are and your connection to everything. And I think the more we can do that, the more resilient we become. I don't know. I think we have to become so masterful in the moment with the siren to be able to do something like that.
But I'm
But
not
the
that
more we,
masterful apparently.
we're
Gotta
all in
practice
it
more.
learning. I'm not, I think that's the thing. Like we're all human and we're all learning. And the more we can build these practices outside of those extreme moments, the more resiliency we build. That's why I think a practice, a daily practice or a regular practice is so good.
Yeah, some I saw someone who, because there's a lot of problem with pets. There are a lot of people here have pets, dogs, multiple dogs, cats, like animal lovers, and they freak out when they hear sirens. So I saw this woman. She had three huskies, and she just started playing the siren on a very low sound, and then they all went to the safe room together, and she gave them treats. So they're like, "Oh, sirens, treats, going to the safe room." So the the fear turned into something familiar. So they're not, because they're used to it and they practiced it in real time, they don't freak out. They're just super calm. So maybe there is something like that that can be done on the subconscious level for humans.
Yeah, for me, it's knowing in the end, all I have is my essence and my essence as it connects to spirit. And there's things I can do in the moment to calm myself or, even self soothing things. Um, Creating, like you're talking about, a plan for what you do in those moments. Um, in the end, to me, it's knowing my connection to spirit and that's kind of where we started today, too. It's interesting that came through, but um, that's really my deepest safety is in that. I've learned like I can create some sort of safety in the world, but the world is not.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Because we're trying to control the outcome, but we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, next moment. We never know. I'm already so worried about the future these days with AI and everything, and but you never know what's going to happen. You never know, and sometimes most of the time your biggest fears are never come true. So I think what you're talking about, connecting to your essence, is about losing control and trusting the divine to guide us, that no matter what happened, we're going to be okay, because at the end we all go coming back to source and light.
To look for safety in other people, to look for the deep sense of safety in other people, or to look for the deep sense of safety in our politics or government or social media or blogs or all these things, it's not a good place to look for that deep sense of safety from. It's so volatile. Things are changing so much every day. So if that's where we're deriving like a sense of security or safety from, it's going to make us very, very stressed. So for me, building that sense of safety in life, but in a much deeper way, in my connection with essence, in my connection with like life source energy that flows through me, that flows through everything around it. That's my practice now. And how do I stay with that deeper source of energy, of vitality, of life, and let the other blips go on around me? I mean, that's my practice. And then how do I support? How do I love? How do I care? How do I take care of myself in all of these things that are going on in our world right now? That's, we're all practicing that.
You know what? I'm looking at teenagers or kids, and most of them are, no matter what's happening, and they do experience the world, of course, but like I look at my little one, and he's got no worries, he's like, we can be all stressed out, and he's just like la 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 la, everything is good. Or teenagers that just worry about, like, I don't know, makeup or clothes or celebrities or whatever. And I think that when I was a teenager, it was pretty much the same way, where I was aware of my reality, but still I lived above my reality and I wasn't so focused on the news. And we always feel like, you know, oh, what's going on today? It's so crazy. But I think in the 90s, in the 80s, in the 60s, in the 70s, every generation have their own things they deal with and never stop. So because there is always good and bad, black and white. And so where do we choose to live in this matrix?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question.
What do we put our attention on?
Mm-hmm.
What do we turn to for resourcing? And then if we can be resourced, how do we extend help in the world? Where do we give our services? How do we support humanity to heal and for us all to live at a higher level of frequency? And it's both. For me, it's both. How do I stay resourced? And where do I support in healing the suffering that's happening in the world? Not giving myself up to help with that suffering, or not extending myself to things I can't control. And it's not in any way to bypass anything that's going on in the world and the horrors that are going on.
But that's the key, because you can't control what you can't control. It's like, even if you try really hard, it's never gonna happen.
And so for me to be able to do that in these times, I can help way more people without getting burned out, without getting sick from taking on too much. But it's an art. We're all trying to sort out right now.
You said that you had a thyroid condition, and in allopathic medicine, you have a thyroid condition, great, here's a pill for you for the rest of your life and deal with it. You're us forever. Also, I heard that the levels are are decreasing, meaning what was a normal blood pressure 10 years ago is now abnormal. What was normal cholesterol 10 years ago is now abnormal. So every 10, 20, 30 years, I don't know if this is true or not, they change the levels, because if let's say you're 150 and the it used to be normal, but now the normal is 140, then you're going to be on this blood pressure medication for the rest of your life. So they have more clients. How did you so autoimmune diseases are considered uncurable, or you have to be on pills for the rest of your life, but you see different miracles in your practice. Maybe you can elaborate on that and also on how you cured your own thyroid condition.
Yeah, I think, what's happening with labs because they're controlled by insurance and whether we have pharmaceuticals that can treat within certain levels, that's really what a lot of lab functions are based on. And so things for cholesterol, testosterone, these ranges have changed because of what's come out a lot of times through pharmaceutical industry or what's available for treatment and what the norm is. And people are much sicker. And so the norm has extended. So it comes back to, again, like, how do you feel in your body? And ultimately, I think that is the best test. Do you feel good? Do you feel healthy? Do you feel resilient? Do you feel like you can show up the way you want to in your life? And if the answer is like, I could have more, then that's the truth. So there's labs that help guide us, but ultimately your guide to you being healthy is you knowing how you feel. So there's a lot of times people, they're like, something's off, but all the labs are coming back normal, even in functional labs. And ultimately that's the guide. So I think that holding that again, kind of the theme of what we're talking about here today is like knowing yourself, knowing your essence and what's possible for you. That's really what guided me. What I don't believe any of these conditions are permanent. Like this idea that these autoimmune conditions are not reversible. Again, I hold your body is meant to be healthy. Your body wants to be in balance. It's giving you messages that it's not. And a lot of these conditions didn't exist, or they don't, like you see with Joe Dispenza's work or other people talking about this, they only exist under certain conditions. So if we can start to shift those conditions, for me, like I was saying, it was everything. It was getting the right food and getting food intolerances out. It was healing up the gut. It was looking at nutrient levels, things like vitamin D. It's really taking inventory of all these different aspects of your health. My theme for my thyroid was self-expression and really being able to speak and speak my truth and doing, like, I'm healing my thyroid right now and being with you and expressing, it's like ongoing work. And I had an autoimmune condition that was attacking my thyroid called Hashimoto's, right? And so why was I attacking myself? Well, a lot of things were confused. I wasn't eating the right foods. My gut membrane was permeable. I didn't know myself, and I needed to get to know myself more and express my emotions and express myself more. So it really, there's not a medication that reverses it, so it's considered irreversible, but it's not irreversible. It's about coming into more and more and more alignment.
What do you think are the most important three most important life changes or supplements that everyone should take or do?
Hmm. Yeah, foundation is food, and food is not everything, but it is really important. It's really hard to heal if you're not eating things that support your body. So finding someone or doing an elimination diet and figuring out like which foods work best for your body and getting out the foods that really irritate your body is critical. Um, I think another important part is your nutrient levels, things like iron, vitamin D, B12. If you don't have these like really foundational nutrients in high enough levels, and you can be doing all the right things, but your body is just running on empty, it's really hard to get ahead. And then I would say the third piece is looking at the gut. Supplements are supplemental, right? They're meant to create change and stuff. I don't think there's any like one nutrient or supplement. It's really individualized supplements. But if you don't have those foundational pieces in place physically, like the nutrients, the food, and the gut health, you can really be putting in a lot of work and not get anywhere.
Yeah. So I've noticed in the last year that I have more like hair loss. And I'm sure it's due to stress. But what else can I do to support that, for example?
Yeah. So you think about like what your hair is made of, right? It's made of protein, it's made of minerals. So you want to make sure you're getting the basic foundations nutritionally. For most women, getting at least 100 grams of protein a day, getting basic labs done on your vitamin D, your iron, your B12, and making sure that those are optimized and that you're getting, if you're not, getting those supplemented. And then yeah, this whole thing we've talked about today about stress,
About peace.
cortisol, and doing your front, get into the ocean, get out and meditate, all your subconscious, practices that you're doing.
Oh wow, like last week it was a week we just spent some time by the ocean and in a hotel. It was so good. I went to the beach twice a day and it was so reviving. Reviving and amazing. There's nothing like nature, I feel like, to really connect and ground us.
And nature is a coherent field. It is in balance. So a lot of things around us are not in balance right now. That's a place we can go and find that natural coherence for us and remember that for ourselves.
Yeah. Maybe you can share a story that gave you goosebumps or really surprised you in your practice with someone who healed.
Oh, there's so many good stories. Let's see. Um,
You're like a little angel, not little. You're so angelic. The vibe that comes from you is so pure and angelic. I really feel like whatever you're doing is so coming from the heart and from pure source. It's really beautiful to see.
oh, thanks, Orion.
Of course, I cannot hold my tongue, and I always.
Thank you. Um, yeah, I'm remembering a client from uh it was a while ago, but just a really vivacious, active person, loved traveling the world, loved mountain climbing, loved sports, loved, he was just a photographer and um, had so much like aliveness in him, but had uh inflammatory bowel disease. So everywhere he was going, he had to stop, use the bathroom. He had to opt out of trips sometimes. And and we went through the process like I'm talking about of looking at the food, looking at the nutrients, looking at the gut health. And he got it. Like he really got like these are the foods that work for me. These are the supplements I need to take ongoing. This is the stuff that was like growing in my gut. These are the areas that I'm not like really truly taking care of myself, like really learning how do I honor what my body needs under circumstances where I'm with peers or where I'm traveling. And, he doesn't have that inflammatory bowel disease anymore. He's not on medications. And it's like a simple story in a way, but it's this process of him learning his body, how to connect with it, and then how to honor that day after day after day, and how to move through the world, traveling, doing the things he loves, and honor what his body needs at the same time on this deeper level, and how to take care of himself. And I think, I don't know, in a way it sounds so basic, but if we can all do that, learn ourselves, honor ourselves, then that process is where health comes from.
Mhm. How do you honor yourself? How do you listen to your body?
Oh, constant. Um, I think, that's a lot of times why we start with our clients with an elimination diet and you just take out foods that might be like processed foods and sugar and alcohol. And you start to learn how does my body, when you add those back in, you do trials of them, how does my body speak to me? When I eat this food, do I get brain fog? Do I get acne? Do I get sluggish? Does my gut act up? Like, what are the ways that my body speaks to me? Your body doesn't use words, right? So we have to attune to, do I get achy in my shoulders? Do I get a neck cramp? Do my, um, Do my eyes look less clear? There's all these ways that your body is speaking to you, and each person has their own language of their body. Migraines might be cramping. So, we're so used to like, I want to get rid of these symptoms. I don't want them anymore, but they're your body's language. They're how they speak to you. And so they're actually a gift, and I think that's part of healing too. It's like, instead of being just mad at my body for my thyroid not working or for having this joint pain and rheumatoid arthritis and, whatever it is for you, the hair falling out, that's your body's language. And so right now your body is speaking to it. You're seeing it in your hair. And that's one way it's communicating with you. So how do you work with that? How do you not just get mad at your body for doing that, but how do you listen to it and start to understand what it's trying to tell you through that?
Mm, love that. But it just feels like cutting sugar and cutting gluten and being so good with your diet feels so restrictive.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know, do I really want to do this and feel great in my body, or just have that cookie and have that chocolate and have that ice cream? It's summertime, ice creams are amazing. How do where do you find the balance? Do you go, that's it, I'm cutting everything out? Because I've done that where I cut, all sugar and all gluten, and I lost weight and I looked amazing. And then stress happened, and okay, just this little candy and just this little thing, and here I am back on gluten-full diet and candies and all that. So where's the balance?
Yeah, great question. When we go in with people, I'll tell them, like, kind of think of this like you're going into a healing cocoon. You're going to be doing some experimentation. You're going to be learning about like what works for your body, what doesn't. And if you can go into this cocoon for a period of time and deeply heal, then the idea is you come out with more resiliency. And so ultimately it's about knowing what works for you and what doesn't, and finding that line of like, sometimes the indulgence, the ice cream and stuff is self-care. Sometimes that is about living a life of pleasure and enjoying. And that's the whole point of healing, is to enjoy life, to be more of you, to engage, to travel, to eat that croissant in Paris. And yes. and other times it's like, well, my body can only do so much of that. I don't want the acne. I don't want the gut issues that come with that. And so my greatest self-care and self-love is to not eat that thing. And it's going to fluctuate. But to have agency with that and to come to it from a place of self-love versus restriction, rebellion within ourselves, that's not very fun.
No, not very fun. But even when I'm grateful that even when I have my crazy period of eating everything and going a little crazy, I do listen to your body. Eventually, you're like, I don't like this. Doesn't feel good, and all of a sudden, I'm craving the protein. I'm craving the greens. I'm craving all the things that makes me feel really whole and good.
Yeah, exactly. There's kind of a deeper, most people, it's finding that too. It's like, what's that deeper want? It's not just about the cookies and the brownies. It's like that deeper want to feel good and feel deeply nourished.
Yeah, I just made cookies with my son today. We met with some friends, and they made the best butter cookies I've ever had in my life. Seriously. It's like it was like store-bought quality, but 1,000 times better. And we really indulged. We still have more cookies.
And you move them together and you made something beautiful.
Yeah, we made stars and mushrooms and hearts, and it was really, really fun. And the kids loved it. Um, so before we say goodbye for now, I have two questions for you, Jen. One is, where can people find you, and what are your three top tips to living a stellar life?
Okay. So people can find us through the website. We're at novawellnessmed.com. If you're in California, you're welcome to also book a free discovery call if you want to talk to us more. And 3 tips for living a stellar life. Okay, I would say, yeah, know and grow your essence, that theme we talked about today. And second thing would be to trust your knowing, trust your deepest truth. And I think third would be, hone in on how to interface that with the world and find what works for you and what doesn't. And enjoy the discovery of that.
I love that. Dr. Jen, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure. Thank you for all the beautiful work you do in the world. Thank you for connecting to your essence and teaching others to do so as well, and just being the bright light that you are.
Thank you, Orion.
And thank you, listeners. Remember to know and grow your essence, trust your deeper truth, find what works for you in the world, and have a stellar life. This is Orion. Till next time.